The topic of racial diversity in the fashion community has been around for quite some time. How do we fix it? Can we fix it? And what's the benefit of doing so? We speak with attorney Ashley N. Cloud about business principles designers should know, what the industry can do to support Black designers, and how to support your own. We want to hear from you. So if you haven't left us a review yet, please do so and let us know what your biggest takeaway from this episode is, or let us know in general what you like about Style Access. Well, let's get to it because Style Access starts now. Welcome back. I'm so happy to have you here for another episode of Style Access. We are talking, where are the resources for Black designers? We have as our featured guest, Ashley Cloud. She's an attorney. I am so happy to have this conversation. Ashley, welcome to Style Access. How are you?
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here, Rosie. I'm doing really great. It's awesome to be here.
Yes. So can you tell us a little bit more about yourself and your background?
Yes, absolutely. So I'm originally from Houston, Texas, born and raised, H-Town. Came to DC in 2012 for law school at Howard. When I got to Howard, I realized I also wanted to get my MBA, so I did that as well. I have an extensive background in entrepreneurism, mostly by my family. And so I've always known that I wanted to start my own business, and that I've also wanted to help other small businesses with my background, with my skills, and just the experiences that I've had throughout my life. I currently work for the Small Business Administration. And while I was in law school, I did a lot of work in the realm of fashion. So I started the Fashion Law Society at Howard with one of my fellow classmates. I also participated in Fashion Law Week, and I'm currently a committee member of the Fashion Law Committee of the New York City Bar, where we put on different programming, and recently hosted a conversation with thought leaders in the fashion industry and in the legal industry to talk about diversity in the fashion industry. So this is something that I'm super passionate about, and just always trying to look for ways to give back and to pour it back into the community. For me, fashion and law go hand in hand. I have always loved fashion. I've had family members that have started their own companies in the fashion industry as well as the beauty industry. And so all of these things just really are so personal for me. So I'm really happy to be here and be able to give this talk today.
Yes, and me too, because so many people are fascinated about the fashion piece, but don't know about the business side. So I just feel that this is timely, and I'm just so excited to have this conversation. So we always start out with some frequently asked questions that our community asks. Are you up for answering some?
Sure.
Okay. Sure. Okay, thank you. So the first one is, as a lawyer, what are some legal challenges that Black designers face?
So one thing that I'll say, and you kind of just hit on it, that a lot of times fashion designers are so enamored with the fashion part, the creative part, but it's also a business. And that is, if you don't have that business part, then I'm not sure how long your business will last without really understanding how important it is to have your business in order. So I would say that our legal issues for any designer, not just in particular Black designers, but there are some nuances with it. So some of the major legal issues that you'll have is issues around intellectual property. That's a huge one. Now that's something that is going to be an issue for any designer because they want to protect their brand. What you'll see oftentimes when it comes to Black designers is appropriation. And so what you'll see is these fast fashion companies, some of them scouting out amazing Black talent and copying it and selling it as their own. And because they're able to mass produce it and because they have a lot of money, they can, for one, make it look like they came up with the designs themselves because that's the one that you see the most. And then also they can get a designer entwined in expensive litigation that they can't afford sometimes. And then they kind of just surrender and say, okay, fine, you got it. Like, I'm not even going to bother trying to protect my brand because it's too expensive. That's a huge one. There's so many different legal issues in the fashion industry that I think a lot of people don't realize. So just like I said before, it's a business. So you're talking real estate issues, labor and employment issues. There are just any kind of business issue. It's also it also permeates in the fashion industry as well. So there's a lot of different things going on there.
Yeah, and I know for frequently asked questions, it's just supposed to be you, but I just I'm so full. What you just said, the first thing, because it really don't supposed to be a whole bunch of dialogue, but I just want to talk about this. So, how can designers protect themselves for like the first reason you stated, as far as big fast fashion companies stealing their ideas because they feel like they may not have any money? I know you've said that you work for Small Business Administration. Do they do outreach for people to know that, if you don't have a little bit of money or if you have just a little bit of budget, this is what you should do?
So I want to say this, first of all. I do work for the SBA, but I can't speak too much for that kind of thing. So I have to but the SBA does do a good job of just educating small business owners on all types of issues. They do touch on some legal issues, but they're really more focused just on your business plan and marketing and financials and things like that. But they do a good job of educating small business owners, whether they're in the fashion industry or not, on different things that they need to be aware of. And they do a lot of coaching and mentoring within the SBA. So that's definitely something that everyone should know about.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And what are some basic business principles designers should know?
I think some of the big ones are making sure that you have a legal entity that's formed. I think a lot of times people just go out and they just start their business without having that protection, because that's really what it is. So just one example, right? If you create a legal entity aside from yourself, and you're conducting your business under that legal entity, if something were to happen and if you do things the way that you're supposed to with your business, if someone were to sue you, they're not going to come after your house and your car and anything that you own. They'll only be able to touch things that your business has control over. So that's a huge one that a lot of times I think people are not really thinking about. Another huge thing, especially in this digital age where social media has such an impact on a business, is marketing, digital marketing, really understanding how it works and understanding just how much it can make a huge difference for your business. And then branding, and if you can't afford to trademark your business, doing all these things basically to protect what you are trying to grow. Most of the things are centered around that, because you want to be able to focus on your business, but also focus on the creativity that comes along with it. And what you don't want to do is become so bogged down in trying to fight just to keep your business going that you're not able to just focus on the creative side of things.
Yeah. And so you touched on this a bit, but I want to ask, how important is it to trademark your business name, and when should you do it?
I think it's very important to trademark your name, especially if you're trying to build a brand around that name. Because what you don't want to happen is someone with a similar name, or they have similar branding, or just maybe a slogan, a tagline, something that you use, and then people are getting confused about, oh wait, I saw this one really cool thing that came from someone. I can't remember exactly who it was. It kind of sounded like this. And because you don't have those protections in place, someone could come in and say, that was me, and you can't really do much about it. Like, you can sue them, but it just makes it a little bit harder when you don't have the backing of a trademark registration.
Mhm. And what are some forms of financial support that designers can go after?
There's a lot right now. There's a lot of financial support out there. There are so many organizations and companies that have recently launched all these different grant programs for small businesses in general. And because any fashion company is a small business when it starts out, we hope that it grows to become a huge business, but when it's starting out, it's a small business. That they should go after those grants. So I've seen some from American Express. I've seen some from Comcast. I've seen so many different types of opportunities. One that comes to mind is a partnership between Harlem Fashion Row and the CFDA, which is the Council for Fashion Designers of America, called the Icon 360 Grant. And I believe CFDA recently put in $1 million into that grant fund and has released $100,000 grants to promising fashion designers. So there are a lot of opportunities for funding, but you have to be on top of it and do your research. Make sure you have like your basic business, just your basic business parameters in place, so that when you are ready to launch and when you're ready to go out for these different programs, you're ready to do it and you have everything that you need to do so.
Okay. And as far as establishing a business model, can you provide some tips?
I don't want to go too deep into it, but one thing that I will say, number one, is to focus on your customer. Focus on your customer at all times and to stay authentic into whatever it is that you are passionate about, because what you don't want to do is get lost in the sauce and start trying to attract everyone, because maybe everyone isn't your customer, and those individuals who are loyal and have always supported you will stick with you as long as you stick with them, really, and you're catering to them. So that's one thing that I would say about your business model, to build your business model around your consumer, around your customer.
Yeah. This has been great, Ashley. So we're not going to let you go yet. We have more questions for you. So more style access after the break. So welcome back. We still have Ashley here. And so for this segment, we're going to focus on what can the industry do to support Black designers? So first question, Ashley, how important is industry support for Black designers?
I think industry support is very important for Black designers, specifically when it comes to the fashion industry, where it can be very exclusionary. I believe that we need to start opening those doors more. Those doors need to be started opening more towards individuals who don't look like those that are already in power. Because at the end of the day, when it comes to the fashion industry, there are gatekeepers. Like, we all understand that, because if you hear someone back someone, oh, it doesn't even matter who they are, what they do, you already gonna buy into it. But when people don't have that backing and that support, people are kind of like, I don't know about this. I'm not familiar. And so what a lot of the industry can do, and what I've seen happening more recently, is this push to support more Black designers. So I think it's really important.
Mm-hmm. So if you have to elaborate on the root cause, what would you say that is?
I mean, at the end of the day, this country has a dark past, and some of those things are still with us in the form of racism. It just looks different, but it's evolved over time, but it's still there. And because we are now kind of in this anti-racist sort of environment and time where we're trying to move past a lot of those things, it's hopeful, but at the end of the day, that's really a lot of the problem right now. And because of that, it causes other problems, right? So if you are from a certain type of socioeconomic background, then you're not going to have certain opportunities available to you. You're not going to have certain access. You're not going to have those connections that other individuals who might be just as talented, or you might be more talented than them, they're able to be more successful because they have that access and whether it's money, whether it's connections, information, education, whatever the case may be, it does kind of put you in a disadvantage.
Yeah. So do you think that the industry has more to learn about inclusion?
Yes, I definitely believe that there's more to learn. I'm seeing that the industry, the fashion industry, a lot of industries are working to learn more about what inclusion means. I think for some of us, it sounds like, okay, yeah, like second nature, like include everybody. But when things have been established in a certain way where everyone in certain industries, in certain rooms, in a boardroom, in the C-suite all look the same, you don't even think about it. And so for me, when I think of inclusion, I don't just think of having other people in the room. It's empowering them to use their voice, to be authentic, and to feel comfortable with doing so. So I think we are moving into an environment in a space where there's more inclusion happening, but there's definitely room for improvement.
Yeah. And what would you say about like what MCM is doing with MISA? Would you think that that is helpful in any way? Do you really think that they have a voice? And Dapper Dan?
So with Lisa, with Dapper Dan, we'll see. We'll see where it goes. I was just having a conversation with an organization that is working to do more mentorship with Black designers. And my number one question was, what kind of relationship are you trying to build with them? Are you just trying to give them a little bit of advice and then kind of lead them on their own? Or is this going to be a long-standing relationship where you're really trying to build something, a real relationship that's long-standing and that can really take them to the next level? So right now with a lot of this, I'm kind of like, we'll see what happens. I'm hopeful and I'm trying to be as positive as possible about it, but I'm also kind of like, let's see how it goes.
Yeah. And how can the industry evolve beyond the Black designer label?
I think that is going to be something until there are more Black designers, until the fact that a certain label is owned by a Black designer isn't such a big, like, oh, wow, they're owned by a Black designer. I feel like as long as we're in this space where they are in the minority, that's always going to be a thing. So the more that we support from on the industry side, consumer side, every side, I think that we're going to have that issue.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Ashley. I can't wait to dive into our next segment, which is how can we help our own, which is such a powerful thing. So more style access after the break. So we're back, still here with Ashley, and we're talking about how we can help our own. As I alluded to before, if we can do that, then it puts us in a better state. So how can we turn this Black movement into a lasting industry change?
The first word that comes to mind when I think about that is accountability. So I believe that in order for this to not be a fad or a trend that is gone after a few months, we have to keep our foot on the gas and to continue to hold those accountable who have said that they really do want to support us, that they do believe that Black Lives Matter and so on and so forth. Because one thing that we've seen in the industry recently is this huge influx of companies posting things about Black Lives Matter, so on and so forth. And then shortly thereafter, you see all of these former employees from these companies who have said, oh, really, Black Lives Matter? Well, when I worked there, I didn't feel like that, you know? And so it caused another conversation around, like, what does that truly mean? Are you authentic in what you're saying? And how invested are you really into ensuring that Black designers really have a chance, whether they're designers or just any type of Black fashion professional, whether you're in marketing or photography or you're working at a publication and so on and so forth, that you really have an opportunity to grow, learn, and get exposure, access, and have those relationships that can really catapult your career.
Yeah. And so we know that being Black, we spend our dollars. It's estimated that it's about $1 trillion annually. So how would you suggest that we redirect that spending to benefit Black designers and boutiques?
We just got to spend our money there. You know, at the end of the day, I've seen these posts on Instagram and Facebook and things like that where it says it doesn't cost anything to support somebody by liking and sharing their content. But at the end of the day, liking and sharing alone, they have to get the money behind it, right? They have to have capital and funds to continue to grow their collections and to get them in front of different people. And if they want to go a route where they are producing things on a larger scale, they need to have access to different types of factories and manufacturers that costs money. It costs money. So, you know, I don't want to shame anyone if they're like, yes, you know, like going with the big names in the fashion industry, but also consider Black fashion designers because a lot of their work is just as good, if not better, than the things that people find so aspirational when it comes to the fashion industry. And sometimes it could be someone that they might just be selling their t-shirts on the side of the road on the sidewalk. And then maybe they're doing a pop-up at at a business of some kind. Then they have a storefront, or maybe they're online, whatever the case may be. We have to pour more of our money back into our own community. I don't know exactly the statistics, but they say the Black dollar stays in our community the shortest amount of time compared to everybody else. And so we have to remember and it's not even a thing about like charity or giving back. It's really about just take a minute and check out some designers, find ones that you really truly like and support them and buy from them and become a loyal customer. So I think that $1 trillion, if we can just get a small percentage of that back into our community, can make a huge difference for us.
Yeah, and I also want to add, and have grace. You know, it seems like when you're dealing with a Black designer, you want everything to be perfect. And if one thing is wrong, you're like, no, see, that's why. I just feel you don't do that with Target. You don't do that at other establishments. You have grace. So have grace with your own people as well. You know, maybe it was a bad day. I know I have gone into, you know, designer boutiques and wasn't greeted, you know. It's the same thing. If somebody don't greet you in a Black establishment, it's just like, oh, I'm not coming back. I just feel that we just need to definitely have grace and give it an opportunity. And I totally agree with you when you said just it's not just supporting Black people, like find something that you actually like. And that's the key. You don't have to just do it, like you said, out of charity. Mm-hmm. And if you go looking for it, you'll find it. Like, it's just tons that I have been exposed to that I never was before, from everything you need, from shea butter to for eyeglasses, clothing, everything. Like, just like you said, you have to go looking for it. And I think what's also helpful if people start featuring other Black designers, because some people may not take the lead to go, you know, looking for it. But I never listened to the radio, but one time I was listening to the radio and I think it was Kathy Hughes. I think she was, you know, like highlighting Black businesses and stuff like that. And I actually jotted down a couple of ones. So things like that, I just think are helpful.
Yeah. And speaking of that was something that I wanted to mention too, lifting as you climb. Like, lifting as you climb. Like we know of some of the major Black brands that are really making a name for themselves these days, like Pure Moss and Carly Cushnie and all these other brands that have really made a name for themselves. And I see so many of them also reaching back. Like, for example, Brandis Daniel, right? Harlem Fashion Row. She's created an entire brand and an organization to connect Black fashion designers with major fashion designers or just retailers or just creating other types of relationships so that these companies are getting the exposure that they need, right? Another example is Raise Fashion. Raise Fashion is an organization created by Carly Cushnie, one of the founding board members, and also Felita Harris, as well as a number of other prominent fashion professionals that have all banded together and have started to provide mentoring to aspiring Black fashion designers. And so when you have these individuals that have finally made it, like it's not often that it happens, but it does happen. And when you take the opportunity to say, okay, I see I'm here, I don't see anyone that looks like me. So I want to see more of us here. Let me go and call out my friends or people that I've worked with in the past and say, why am I the only one? There should be more of me. And then they create these organizations and these partnerships and things of that nature that really uplift more Black fashion designers. And if that continues, it's a snowball effect. And then, we'll see where it takes us.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And I'm with you. I hope that happens, or continue to happen. So yes. As far as building upon legacies of like famed designers, like Patrick Kelly, Stephen Barrows, Ann Lowe, Tracy Reese, Kirby Jean Raymond, and Stella Jean. How can we do that and continue with this movement?
A few things. One is give yourself a good lawyer. That's one thing. Mm-hmm. Make sure that you have your business in order, because you can have all the creativity in the world. And if you don't protect yourself, if you don't protect your creativity, someone can come up and snatch it up. And we've seen that with some of the most prominent historical figures, fashion figures particularly. Another thing that I think is huge is to stay authentic. Stay true to you. Do what you do best. And I think that really comes into play when you start to see all the money rolling in and all the attention you're getting. And then you're starting to feel like you need to cater to and appease everybody. And you forget what got you to where you are now. And so I think it's so important to stay authentic, also to protect yourself. Those are the two biggest things that I would say to really have a long-lasting legacy.
Yeah. And I'm so happy we had this discussion. My takeaway is if you can't afford a fashion attorney, just make sure that you do some research to get those line items like your trademark and different things like that. And when you can afford one, definitely incorporate that into your budget and make sure that you, like you said, are protected, because it's so important. And I know you have probably seen so many stories of people getting taken advantage of, and we don't want that to happen. So last question for you, Ashley. What's next for you?
Next for me, well, right now at the SBA, I'm working on a few awesome initiatives to help with COVID relief. Small businesses that have experienced some kind of devastation in relation to being shuttered or just not having their business the way that it's been. I'm also working on some cool opportunities with fashion companies. And we will see. I mean, I can't really say too much, but if you can't tell, I'm definitely moving into a certain type of direction where I want to work more closely with fashion companies. So we'll see where it takes me.
Okay. And how can people connect with you and follow you?
You can follow me on Instagram at CloudESQ. I'm also on LinkedIn, which I would say is a great resource for anybody when it comes to trying to create relationships and stay connected. And if you have any aspirations when it comes to being mentored or even being a mentor, I think LinkedIn is a great opportunity for anyone. So you can look me up on LinkedIn. I do a lot of cool, fun stuff on Instagram around fashion. I'm a huge thrifter, so I post a lot about that. I also do some things with wellness, which is very important to me, and also a little bit of education here and there about becoming a lawyer, and also around just issues in the fashion industry. So follow me on Instagram as well.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Ashley. This was a great conversation. And I thank you for taking time to be with us.
Thank you so much, Rosie. This has been really awesome.
More Style Access after the break. A great way for your voice to be heard and to support Black businesses is to do the research, do the work, and do better in keeping the Black dollar in our community. If you are already doing so, please continue. We want to hear from you. So if you haven't left us a review yet on our YouTube page, please do so and let us know what your biggest takeaway from this episode is. Or let us know in general what you like about Style Access, or ways for us to grow and better this show. Also tag and hashtag us at Style Access Show and Faulkner_Rosie, and include our amazing guest, attorney Ashley N. Cloud at Cloud Esquire, to share your thoughts about Black designers and the fashion industry. We can't wait to hear from you. Until next time.